This video was originally one of a 5-part free course centered around habits you can develop to make you a better photographer no matter what level you're working at. All these habits are non-technical in nature. You don't need any expensive equipment, nor do you need to be a technical genius. In fact, they're just as valuable for somebody who's been shooting photographs for a long time as they are to someone just starting out. Now, this video should give you pretty much all you need, but if you want more depth, there's a dedicated post over my blog, photosmudger.com, which will have a transcript along with any graphics or imagery that might accompany the video. Now, this first video is the most critical of the lot, I think, in that it's concerned with having a clear idea in your mind of what you want to photograph. Okay, the first, most important, most fundamental thing you can do to improve your photography is keep asking yourself, what am I photographing? What you need to drill down to is what your photography is about. And each and every time you pick the camera up to take a picture, you need to think, what is it I'm taking a picture of? Now, I realise that sounds really flippant, really stupid, but when you start to examine it, you realise just how crucial it is. When I say, what are you taking a picture of? I mean beyond the obvious thing of, well, I'm taking a picture of this dog that's in front of me. I mean, what about that are you trying to communicate? Essentially, it comes down to, what about that thing interests you, now interest me as a viewer. Okay, you saw something in that scene, in that person, in that object that made you go, oh, that's interesting. Right, now you need to communicate that in such a way that myself, the viewer, and everybody else goes, oh, I see what you mean, that's interesting, that's engaging, that's a very dramatic shot. Rather than we look at it and we politely go, that's very nice, it's very good. Okay, so it starts with asking yourself that question, what am I photographing? Answering it, of course, is how you take the picture. Once you've got in your mind what it is that you like about that thing, what it is that interests you about that thing, that landscape, that person, that object, whatever it is, then you'll bring all your creative skills, all your soft skills, and all your technical skills to bear in it, so that whatever it was that you saw in that picture can be communicated through the final image to whoever's viewing it. Okay? Do that right, and people will look at your work and stop and investigate it and spend some time on it, rather than going, that's very nice, just being polite and going, oh, that's great. You'll actually create work where people go, oh wow, what a beautiful landscape. Oh wow, that's a fantastically characterful portrait, which is probably what you wanted to do in the first place. Okay, you will have communicated to people what it was that you saw in that moment. Because photography is a communication medium at the end of the day. Even if you're not a commercial photographer, even if you're doing very, very fine art stuff or purely personal work, photography is about getting ideas across, about communicating ideas, and it comes right down to communicating what you saw on the day and getting other people to see that as well. What you need to try and do is move your work beyond the basic level, what I call a record shot. Now, by this, I mean you've seen something in front of you, a scene, a person, whatever it might be, you brought the camera to your eye, you haven't really thought the process through, you haven't thought about what light you're using or what light the subject in, you haven't thought about how you compose the image, you haven't thought of any of these things, you've just brought the camera to your eye and taken a picture, and what you've done is record what's in front of you. Now, in this day and age, with pretty much everything from camera phones right up to high-end DSLRs capable of very, very easily producing perfectly sharp, perfectly exposed pictures, that's not going to be enough, is it? Just recording what's in front of you isn't going to make you a great photographer. So you need to move beyond just record shots, okay? One of the first things you can do when you want to take these steps is, when you bring the camera to your eye, stop and look around. Run your eye around all 4 corners of the frame and think, right, does this frame tell the story I want? Have I included all the information I want? Have I included too much information? Do I need to move in closer? Do I need to reframe and move things from side to side? Do I need to pull back? Do I need to show more information? Do I need to get lower, higher? Okay? Do I need to be right on top of the subject, below it? Do I need to look through something? Does this frame that I've created right here, right now, by bringing it to my eye, actually tell the story I want? And if not, change it. Okay, straight away, if you start doing that, take just a second every time the camera comes to your eye, your photography will improve by leaps and bounds. And what you'll also do is you'll be training yourself more and more and more to answering that question of, what is it I'm photographing? Now, answering that question is a lifelong thing. Essentially, it's what I do before every job I shoot, before every image I take. It will never stop nagging you. However, there's a deeper thing at work, and that's, I suppose you'd say, the meta idea of what is it I'm photographing. We're talking about, a whole trajectory of what is it you're photographing. This is one of the big things that separates professionals out from amateurs. Amateurs tend to try and be jack of all trades. Amateurs often do a bit of this, bit of that, I like a bit of this, I like a bit of that. If you go onto a professional's website, you won't see 19 shots in their portfolio that are moody, dramatic portraits and then one random still life of a cheese grater, will you? You'll see 20 images of moody, dramatic portraits, because that professional has understood that in order to get ahead in the world and in order to create the most interesting, dramatic and arresting portraits they can, they need to focus on doing something and doing it well, not trying to do everything at once. Okay, so this takes it right back to the what am I photographing question. But this time we're talking about almost your whole career arc rather than just each individual image. What I suggest you do that will make so much difference further down the line as your career progresses and as your interest in photography builds is take some time to think about what it is that excites you about photography. Now, this will not happen overnight. It took me years. I'm not going to pretend to you, but it's so, so crucial. You might need third-party help with this. You might need to recruit friends or more experienced photographers who can look at your work with an objective eye and look at it and go, yeah, your work is all about drama. Your work is all about intimacy. Your work is about capturing a moment. Once you've got that, you can then test all your ideas against that, because you will have ideas that sound great, but they just don't really suit what you're doing. And the more you stay true to this idea you've got, this central concept, this is what I'm photographing, the better and better your work will get, the more it will stand out, the more you'll have your own distinct voice. And that's worth far more than expensive lenses, fancy lighting equipment, and all sorts of other technical stuff.